However, late drama continuing to follow Liverpool. They lost to Palace by the same scoreline last week. Nketiah scoring in the 97th minute there. And today, Estevao in the 95th minute. Let's hear from Liverpool coach Arne Slot after the game.
We've created more than enough chances to score more than one goal last week and today. And when we did, I think there was a period of the game where I felt now we're going to win it. We came a lot of times very close with chances, but also with moments where we had a 4 versus 3 in our favor, not outplaying it well enough in the last pass, but and in the last 10 minutes it was an end-to-end game. Both teams could have won it, and we didn't, and Chelsea did. If the result would have been better today with a draw or a win, which was both possible. I don't say we deserved it. A draw we definitely deserved, but then we would have had a great start to the season if you take into account everything that what happened in the summer in Liverpool.
Don Hutchison joining us now. Frank Leboeuf is with us as well, but only one place to start here. Stevie Nicol, how are you feeling?
Well, to be honest, I'm listening to Arne Slot, and I've been in this position before where you've gotten beaten by a late goal, you've had a couple of chances in the game, and so you're clinging on and trying to spin it in a way that actually you're unlucky. But Arne Slot has to look at the big picture here. Liverpool, yet again, were not half the side they were last year. Liverpool, again, were guilty of coughing the ball up. Liverpool, again, were guilty of getting run through in the middle of the park. They were guilty defensively of not defending properly. I mean, there are so many things that were wrong with Liverpool that have been wrong with them since the season started, not just today's game. And so he's clinging on to a couple of chances that, by the way, were half chances. There's not one chance in that game today where you're saying Liverpool should have scored. There's not one. And we showed the highlights. There was certainly more Chelsea highlights than there was Liverpool highlights. So I think he's doing what all coaches do, all managers do. They're going on the positive route and talking about what might have been and what could have been. But the truth of the matter is, Chelsea were the better side and Liverpool were miles off it again.
Liverpool were the late goal kings before, Don, and now they're conceding late goals. How did you see today's game?
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you make the game into a basketball game. You can score late, you can concede late. I think when I look at Liverpool and what they're missing, they're certainly missing Trent's passing ability at right back. They're certainly missing Luis Diaz, who scored 2 for Bayern today. He's a player that takes Liverpool up the pitch. But they've lost control of games. That's the big takeaway from the start of the season up till now, where when you watched Arne Slot's team last year, they would slow the game down. They would dictate the pace of the game. You saw the Real Madrid game tonight. They just popped some 5-yard passes around and took the sting of any sort of threats that might came their way. That was Liverpool last season. They kept the ball for fun. They slowed the game down. They were good in transition when needed to be. They scored good goals. They were arrogant in a good way. They were confident, and that's something you can never measure. Now you're watching a team that's lacking in confidence, because if you had to ask Liverpool fans before the game, would you take a draw at Stamford Bridge? Probably. But, you know, I was on call for the Arsenal game today, and they absolutely dominated West Ham in an amazing manner. You watch Liverpool now, you just think they need to go back to basics. I've seen Kirkes, and that's the difference when you play for a club like Bournemouth or a club like Liverpool. Kirkes last week against Crystal Palace kicked the ball out for a throw-in. You can't do that when you play for Liverpool. You give up a goal. Andy Robertson had his hands on his thighs at the end of the game, totally switched off. I'm not sure if that was tiredness or an injury, but he should have done better. So you're watching so many things like Liverpool, like Stevie said, where it's individual mistakes, it's a lack of confidence, it's conceding late goals, it's not controlling games, which is the main thing. And I think that's the biggest worry for Arne Slot, how his team now are turning every single game into a basketball match.
Don, much has been made of bringing Endo on late on instead of Chiesa, who we've seen can change a game late on. Did Slot play for the draw today?
Yeah, and I think he was wise to. I think at 1-1, why wouldn't you bring Endo on to secure what you can? You know, you can try and secure a point because you think, right, we've been under it today. It's a brilliant game of football. Caicedo was man of the match by a million miles. I thought it was outstanding. So that in-game management, I think, from Arne Slot bringing Endo on was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, when You know, when you give up a late goal, there's no time then to bring Chiesa on. If you're super aggressive, you can try and pick the bones and go, well, Chiesa might have been a player that you might have brought on at 1-1 to try and win the game. I think that in-game moment, I think Slot actually done the right thing, trying to secure a point.
Meanwhile, Frank, must mention Chelsea here because that is quite the win for them so late on against Liverpool and also managing to do it in front of the home fans too.
That was a great performance from the Blues, and I think it's a deserving win. And I'm glad that Don and Stevie are seeing the truth, and contrary with Arne Slot, because really, while I was listening to him in the post-game press conference, and I say, well, that guy didn't see the first half, I think. Liverpool was completely apathetic in the first half, and I didn't recognize any players and got a little bit sloppy on the first goal. Virgil van Dijk gave the ball very late to Mamardashvili, who put the ball in the three, and then they scored the Chelsea scored the goal. We only saw Liverpool a little bit in the beginning of the second half, better of course in the second half, but overall Chelsea for 90 minutes were very good. I agree with Don. Caicedo was very good, but I was very surprised by Badiashile and Acheampong, who did the job. Very strong, organized, talking to each other, covering each other. Even Garnacho did the job, putting Bradley in a difficult situation. Everybody did his job. I'm a big fan of Neto. Everybody worked very hard, and what they did was absolutely what we were expecting from them, playing against the former winner of the PL. But again, Chelsea deserved to win that game.
Ali, Estevo's got something about him, hasn't he?
Absolutely he does. And I think more importantly than anything, there's a personality to him that doesn't have to be see me, it's all about me. I'm talking about personality in key moments of games in which he gets the ball, he's facing up defenders, and he's not afraid of the moment. That's personality. That's courage in footballing terms, that I am here to do a job. Please give me the ball. I am aching to get on this ball so that I can make something happen. And there's also something to be said about the fact that he's got fresh legs, young legs, which I cannot say the same thing about Andy Robertson. Estevao basically bets on himself, banks on himself to be able to get to the end of that cross by Cucurella, whereas Andy Robertson sees it developing, but whatever is going on in the brain is not communicating to the legs because the legs are gone. And it has happened to all of us at some point in our career in which you see it happening, you see it developing, and still your legs won't do what you ask them to do. And by the time he realized that Estevao was back there, by the time he realized that ball was coming across, it was all too late. As for the point of Estevao, I think he is a good example among many good examples of Chelsea today that had high energy over the course of 90 minutes. And that is something that we would have said about Liverpool in the past. High energy, sustaining that high energy over 90 minutes. Too many players today, from the perspective of Liverpool, with a tired performance, whereas Chelsea were always on the front foot. A couple of times, some nervous defending, couple of times, moments of transition in which they could have been cut out. But for the most part, Chelsea on the front foot, high energy, winning 50-50 challenges, Liverpool reacting to Chelsea.
The goal comes because Robertson has just done 100 yards. Mm-hmm. Robertson had just ran from Chelsea's penalty box and come back, and as Don said, he had his hands on his knees because he was gasping for air. That's why they get the goal. You know, you could have stuck anybody in a blue jersey on at the end of that game going forward. I mean, Liverpool were an absolute shambles by the end. And absolutely, Endo, in my opinion, was not brought on to take the point. McAllister was knackered. That's why Endo came on. This wasn't some sort of tactical move, because from the minute Endo came on to the last whistle, Liverpool were charging forward. It was like a cavalry charge. I mean, they're just playing desperation football. They're desperate. How can you turn an 11 into what Liverpool finished with? Two of your three midfielders are playing in the back line. You've taken your left back off. You've stuck in a left back on who's never going to be able to stick with Estevao or anybody else, or Neto, or anybody. I mean, it's just by the end of the game, it's a shambles. You turn your midfield into your defence. You turn your defence into people going forward. Your front three, including Mo Salah, who right now couldn't hit a barn door if he was standing in front of it.
So where are these struggles coming from with Mo Salah?
Do you know, Mo Salah, just personally, is suffering more than anybody because of the fact that Liverpool cannot keep the ball. Mo Salah is not your normal football player. This is a guy who stands on it, gives it away, but he scores goals. And he's always been the same. Right now, there's one piece of those three missing, and that's the goals. And the biggest problem is Liverpool cannot play three passes amongst themselves together. Crystal Palace, Don was talking about Kerkez last week at Crystal Palace, passing the ball out the field. He wasn't the only one at Palace. It happened twice. It happened twice again today. And if you ever needed any sort of inkling of what the biggest problem is those. When you've got two players who are not connected and the ball's being passed out the field, that's happening all over the field. This is not just a case of a couple of errant passes. Liverpool right now are struggling to pass the ball from A to B consistently and correctly. Never mind making 3 and 4 passes and moving forward comfortably. They're not capable. We watched PSG last week. I don't remember anybody taking more than 2 touches in a PSG jersey. It was out your feet, roll it, out your feet, roll it. Everybody's moving, everybody's playing passes. I don't see anybody playing 2-touch with Liverpool. It's all 2 touches and then it's head up and then looking for a pass. At this level, you don't get that time. And again, the first example is a great example. Liverpool couldn't breathe. They couldn't breathe, and then they couldn't close the ball properly either. I mean, I could go on here for the next half an hour.
But we need to let Frank in.
Sorry, Frank, but there's just so many things going wrong.
That's all right.
There are so many things going wrong, and it comes down to basics. Football, the best teams play the basics the best, and that's what PSG do. Short, sharp, accurate passes. The opposition can't get close enough. I mean, it's what PSG are doing compared to Liverpool right now. They're on 2 different planets.
Frank?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go to. In fact, that we enjoy watching Liverpool playing the former years because they are that. They are that involvement, every players into every part of the football, if offensively in the construction and building of the game, and also in the finishing. And the best example on what we don't see right now is Mo Salah. Mo Salah can score a goal, but when he loses the ball, he walks. And it's not the Liverpool we are used to see. And it's why we were so positive about that team and that club and the coach and the spirit. And we talked about the Liverpool spirit and that you have to give your life. We don't feel that most players are ready to give their lives into that game. And today we see completely the opposite. We saw Chelsea doing and giving everything. Stevie was talking about Paris Saint-Germain. It's what we feel when we see Paris Saint-Germain. We feel that the players, they can go back, even the forward players, they go back when they lose the ball. Today we saw Neto and we saw Garnacho coming back. I never saw Mo Salah doing even 3 yards when he lost the ball. And we know how important the spirit of that guy is for the rest of the team because he's a leader. And that's what's lacking right now for Liverpool. The mentality is not there, and it doesn't work with the way they want to play.
So what do they do with Salah, Don? You're not going to bench him, are you?
Well, they might have to seriously think about what happens in the future.
Sorry.
Okay, Frank. Go ahead, Don.
I think they might have to think about what they do in the future. I mean, Michael Olise is ripping it up at Bayern on that right-hand side. You wouldn't bench him, but what they've got to do, and I think Frank's alluding to it and Stevie's alluding to it, they've got to keep the ball better. We played under Ronnie Moran, a famous Liverpool coach, and it was always keep the ball, find a red shirt. Liverpool, if you simplify it, are giving the ball away that many times. They can't make their way from back to middle and then Liverpool high up the pitch. Cody Gakpo was playing high up on the left-hand side. Salah playing high up on the right-hand side for Liverpool. So even if they lost the ball, in an area on the opposition's 18-yard box. There was a long way for the opposition last season to travel and try and score a goal. Salah now, his average position is quite close to the halfway line. So if they're not keeping the ball, Liverpool, they can't get up the pitch. That's one of a million problems.
Yeah, and when it comes to Chelsea, Frank, they finished with no centre-backs on the pitch, which clearly shows the position and the role of a centre-back is completely overrated.
Yeah, that's complicated, and I'm not stepping up, that's for sure. And I saw Gary Cahill, you know, in the stand, so maybe he can come back. That's going to be a tricky situation for the coach, because how many centre backs do we have? And they are all injured, and it's very sad because on top of it, as I said before, Badiashile and Acheampong were absolutely outstanding today, and I say, wow. They knew exactly what to do. They were very calm. They were coming and getting the ball in the middle of the park, you know, trying to do the right pass exactly at the right time. I said, well, they're perfect, and they were covering each other. And you have nobody anymore. So it's gonna be very complicated, and hopefully they can find a solution. But I don't know. Maybe you can play Caicedo. Caicedo can play everywhere. No, he's a top scorer now. He's a midfield player. He can be a defender, I'm sure.
Yes. Would Liverpool's loss prove to be Arsenal's gain today?